In this city, justice wore expensive suits, polished badges, and respected names. Judge Camille Montgomery had spent years building a reputation no accusation could touch. Her husband defended the law. Her closest ally enforced it. But behind courthouse doors, loyalty had become a performance, and power had begun protecting something far more dangerous than a secret. Some people break the law because they think they can outrun it, but Judge Camille Montgomery did not need to outrun the law. She wore it. Every morning, she walked into the courthouse in designer heels, a black robe folded neatly over her arm, and the kind of confidence that made everyone stand a little straighter when she passed. To the public, she was honorable. To the lawyers, she was untouchable. To the city, she was the face of justice. And to her husband, Ethan Montgomery, she was the woman he had spent 22 years protecting, defending, and loving. Ethan was a respected attorney, the kind of man who believed reputation was built one honest decision at a time. He had stood beside Camille when she was just a young prosecutor with ambition in her eyes and fire in her voice. He had helped her campaign. He had hosted dinners, smiled through fundraisers, and defended her name before she ever sat behind a judge's bench. But what Ethan did not know was that somewhere between power and praise, his wife had fallen in love with another man. Chief of Police Adrian Hall. Adrian was married too. His wife, Danielle Hall, was graceful, quiet, and beloved in the community. She hosted charity events, smiled beside him at press conferences, and made their marriage look strong even when loneliness had been eating through the walls of their home for years. Adrian and Camille first met at a city corruption hearing. She was the assistant district attorney then, sharp-tongued and fearless. He was a rising police commander with a spotless uniform and dangerous charm. Their first conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. But Camille remembered the way he looked at her, not like she was someone's wife, not like she was another woman in a courtroom. He looked at her like he saw the part of her that was tired of being controlled, tired of being perfect, tired of being everyone's example. Adrian remembered her too, her voice, her confidence, the way she challenged him in front of an entire room and still smiled like she knew he respected it. What started as professional admiration became late-night phone calls. Late-night phone calls became lunches. Lunches became hotel rooms. And hotel rooms became a secret life. For years, Camille Montgomery and Adrian Hall perfected the art of betrayal. They did not sneak like amateurs. They built systems. They created alibis. They memorized each other's schedules better than they memorized their own wedding vows. The affair had begun quietly, hidden beneath power, prestige, and carefully crafted lies. Neither of them realized that every secret leaves a trail, and one day, someone would follow it. But the truth was hidden in a luxury apartment on the edge of downtown, apartment 12C. No family photos, no wedding rings on the nightstand, no reminders of the people they were betraying. Just dark curtains, expensive wine, burner phones, and a view of the city they both believed belonged to them. That apartment became their world. It was where Camille laughed without pretending, where Adrian took off his badge and acted like he was not responsible for protecting the city. It was where they made promises, dangerous promises. One day, Camille whispered to him, "We won't have to hide." Adrian would kiss her hand and say, "I'm going to leave Danielle." "I'm leaving Ethan too," Camille replied. Years passed. Their spouses slept beside strangers and never knew it. At least, not at first. Then the affair got reckless. Power always does that. The more Camille and Adrian got away with, the less careful they became. They stopped meeting only at the apartment. Sometimes Adrian came to the courthouse after hours. Sometimes he stayed too long in Camille's chambers. At first, the staff ignored the closed doors. Then they ignored the whispers. Then they ignored the laughter. But there are some sounds walls cannot protect. Camille's assistant heard them. Then Adrian's aide heard them. Then 2 clerks heard them. And soon, the courthouse had a secret everyone was afraid to say out loud. The judge and the chief of police were not just having an affair. They were carrying it on inside the courthouse, inside her chambers, inside the place where justice was supposed to be clean. The assistants reported them quietly, first to Human Resources, then to the Ethics Board. But secrets involving powerful people never stay quiet for long. One leaked complaint turned into a rumor. One rumor turned into a recording. One recording turned into a headline. And by sunrise, the entire city knew. Married judge accused of affair with married chief of police inside courthouse chambers. Ethan Montgomery read the headline at his kitchen table. He did not yell. He did not break anything. He simply stared at the screen while the woman he had loved for over 2 decades stood across from him, already dressed for court, already wearing the face she used when she wanted the world to believe she was in control. "Ethan," Camille said softly, but his name sounded different coming from her mouth now, like something she no longer had the right to say. The scandal had finally reached daylight, but the public revelation was only the beginning. A deeper truth was waiting beneath it. Camille thought she was choosing love. She thought Adrian was choosing her. She thought they would finally stop hiding. But there was another secret neither of them expected. Months earlier, Ethan Montgomery and Danielle Hall had discovered the affair. Ethan had found a second phone hidden in Camille's belongings. Danielle had found messages Adrian thought he had deleted. Instead of confronting their spouses immediately, they compared notes, business trips, court schedules, late-night absences. Eventually, every trail led to apartment 12C. The betrayal devastated them. But shared pain turned into friendship. Friendship turned into comfort. And comfort eventually became an affair of its own. The spouses who had been betrayed found solace in each other. Neither planned it. Neither expected it. But loneliness has a way of bringing wounded people together. By the time Camille and Adrian decided to leave their marriages, Ethan and Danielle had already fallen in love. Then another complication arrived. Danielle discovered she was pregnant. When she told Adrian, he was stunned. For the first time in years, he hesitated about leaving his marriage. A child changed everything. At least, that was what he believed. The balance of power had shifted, and soon the promises made in apartment 12C would begin to unravel. When Camille met Adrian at apartment 12C expecting them to discuss their future, she believed they were finally close to freedom. Instead, she found betrayal waiting for her. "Danielle is pregnant," he said. Camille stared at him. "What does that have to do with us?" "I can't leave my wife now." The words hit her like a slap. "You promised me." "She's carrying my child," Camille laughed bitterly. "So after everything we've done, now you want to be a family man?" Adrian looked away. "I'm staying with Danielle." In that moment, Camille realized she had destroyed her marriage for a man who had chosen someone else. But Adrian's decision came too late. The affair had already been exposed. The assistants had reported them. The ethics complaints had leaked. The city knew. The courthouse knew. Their spouses knew. And their reputations were collapsing. As the scandal spread, Ethan and Danielle stopped hiding their own relationship. The truth finally surfaced. The betrayed spouses had become lovers. The revelation humiliated Adrian. But what happened next shattered him. Danielle eventually confessed something she had hidden. The baby was not Adrian's. The child belonged to Ethan Montgomery. Everything Adrian believed he still possessed vanished in an instant, and what replaced it was something far more dangerous. He hired a private investigator. He demanded records. He searched for proof. And eventually, he found it. Photos, messages, medical documents, a paternity test. The child Danielle carried belonged to Ethan. Adrian sat alone in his office, staring at the evidence. His wife had betrayed him. The woman he refused to leave was carrying another man's child, and that man was Ethan Montgomery, the husband of the woman Adrian had spent years betraying. Humiliation turned into obsession. Obsession turned into rage. That night, Adrian called Camille, for the first time since ending their relationship. "Meet me at the apartment," he said. His voice was calm, too calm. Camille almost ignored him, but curiosity won. When she arrived at apartment 12C, Adrian stood by the window staring at the city. "She lied to me," he said. Camille folded her arms. "So did you." "The baby isn't mine." Camille froze. "What?" "It's Ethan's." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Camille shook her head. "All those years, all those lies. They're together," Adrian said. "They deserve each other." "No," Adrian replied coldly. "They stole everything from us." Camille left the apartment terrified. For the first time in years, she saw Adrian clearly, not as a lover, not as an escape, but as a dangerous man desperate to regain control. She knew Ethan and Danielle were in danger, so she did the only decent thing she had done in years. She called Ethan. He almost did not answer. When he finally did, Camille struggled to speak. "Ethan," she said, "Adrian knows about the baby." Silence. Then Ethan asked, "What did he say?" Camille closed her eyes. "He wants revenge." Danielle was moved to a secure location that same night, not to a hotel, not to a friend's house. Somewhere only Ethan and federal investigators knew, because Ethan had already begun building a case. The affair itself had exposed corruption. Danielle had evidence, messages, recordings, financial records, apartment access logs, proof that Adrian had misused resources and hidden expenses through accounts connected to police programs. Now there was something even worse, a murder plot. Camille agreed to cooperate. She agreed to wear a wire. The disgraced judge returned to apartment 12C one final time. Not for love, not for desire, but for evidence. Adrian was waiting. He spoke openly enough. He discussed plans. He discussed timing. He discussed making Ethan and Danielle disappear. It was enough. Enough for federal agents listening nearby. Enough for prosecutors. Enough for a jury. When agents stormed apartment 12C, Adrian did not run. He looked directly at Camille. "You betrayed me." Camille shook her head. When agents stormed apartment 12C, Adrian did not run. He looked directly at Camille. "You betrayed me." Camille shook her head. "No, I stopped betraying everyone else." By morning, Chief Adrian Hall was in handcuffs. By noon, Judge Camille Montgomery had resigned from the bench. By evening, investigations into misconduct, corruption, and abuse of power had begun. The city was stunned, not because powerful people had lied, but because this time the lies had consequences. Months later, Adrian Hall stood in court. No badge, no title, no power, just a man facing the law he once believed he controlled. Camille sat in the back row, silent. For the first time, she was not above the courtroom. She was inside it. A witness, a warning, a woman forced to live with the truth. Because secrets do not stay buried, they wait, they breathe, they gather names, dates, receipts, and witnesses. And when they finally rise, they do not just expose what happened in the dark. They reveal who people really were when they thought nobody was listening. Camille Montgomery believed love was worth risking everything. Adrian Hall believed power could erase consequences. Ethan Montgomery believed loyalty would save a marriage. And Danielle Hall believed survival meant staying silent. But in the end, the truth did what none of them expected. It protected the people willing to face it and destroyed and buried beneath debt. Then Jasmine's closest friend offered them a way out. $500,000 for 60 days of exclusive access to Jasmine's husband. They believed the greatest risk was betrayal. They were wrong. Before the contract ended, a woman would be dead, and Marlon would disappear. Because some contracts don't end when the money changes hands. They end when the police arrive. By the time police reached Stephanie Clark's mansion, the 60-day contract had been reduced to 3 things: a blood-covered fountain pen, a missing husband, and a dead woman beneath a white sheet. Jasmine Fisher sat against the wine room wall in the silver dress she had chosen for a celebration. Blood covered her fingers. Marlon's suitcase remained upstairs, but Marlon was gone. When Detective Madison Freeman asked whose blood Jasmine was wearing, Jasmine could only stare at the sheet and that it was never supposed to end this way. 6 hours earlier, all 3 of them had still been alive. 60 days earlier, Jasmine had been sitting across from the woman she trusted most, listening to an offer no married woman should have considered. Stephanie Clark wanted exclusive access to Jasmine's husband for 2 months, and she was willing to pay $500,000 for him. Stephanie and Jasmine had been friends since they were 16. They had survived bad relationships, family funerals, and the private humiliations women usually hide from everyone except each other. Jasmine chose marriage. Stephanie chose power. While Jasmine built a home with Marlon, Stephanie built Clark and Black, a marketing agency that could turn a dying company into a national obsession. Stephanie could sell almost anything. That evening, she sold Betrayal as a financial rescue. Marlon would live inside her mansion for 60 days. He would attend her private dinners, business events, and trips. He would have no calls, messages, visits, or secret contact with Jasmine. What happened inside the house would remain confidential. Jasmine would receive $250,000 immediately, and the balance when the contract ended. The black envelope sat between them like a fourth guest, and neither spouse reached for it until Stephanie said their home was 30 days from foreclosure. Marlon had borrowed against the house to rescue a real estate development that was already collapsing. He had hidden the bank notices, the default letters, and the possibility that Jasmine could lose the home her mother helped them buy. The first betrayal of the night had not come from Stephanie. It had come from Jasmine's husband. Jasmine rose to leave, but Stephanie reminded her that no lender would give them more time. Marlon called the arrangement humiliating. Stephanie answered that foreclosure would be worse. Then Jasmine asked the question that changed all 3 lives. Did Stephanie actually want her husband? Stephanie looked directly at Marlon and said she wanted what he had been keeping from her. Jasmine did not understand. Marlon did. His perfect smile disappeared. 2 days later, Jasmine signed the contract. Marlon accepted the same pen. The immediate payment reached their account before dessert, and the marriage became collateral for a secret neither spouse had fully confessed. Marlon expected seduction. Instead, Stephanie locked the mansion door, escorted him into her study, and placed a photograph of her younger sister on the desk. Jessica Clark had been declared dead 8 years earlier, inside room 1414 of the Ashmont Hotel. The official report called it an accidental overdose. Stephanie never believed it. Phone records showed Marlon spoke with Jessica 4 times that night. A hotel employee remembered a tall, dark-skinned man leaving the 14th floor. 3 days after the funeral, Marlon deposited $75,000 into a private account. Stephanie had not paid $500,000 because she wanted her best friend's husband in her bed. She paid to remove him from his wife, control his movements, and force him to reveal what happened to her sister. Marlon studied Jessica's photograph and said Stephanie had made one dangerous mistake. She assumed Jasmine knew nothing. If stories about secrets, power, and betrayal are your kind of drama, subscribe, because the next revelation changes everything. Every public room inside Stephanie's mansion was being recorded. Marlon found the cameras before his first night ended. Instead of confronting her, he began performing for them. He cooked breakfast with deliberate ease, smiled at empty corners, and behaved like a man with nothing to hide. Stephanie watched from a concealed monitoring screen, unsure whether she was studying him or being studied in return. After midnight, one camera captured Marlon removing a brass key from beneath the lining of his suitcase. He opened a secret compartment inside his watch case and withdrew a delicate gold necklace. Stephanie recognized the oval onyx pendant immediately. Jessica had worn it in the final photograph taken before her death. When Stephanie confronted him, Marlon said Jessica gave it to him weeks earlier. Stephanie accused him of having an affair with her sister. Marlon denied sleeping with Jessica, then told Stephanie to question the one person who had once hated Jessica more than anyone else: Jasmine. The contract prohibited Marlon from contacting Jasmine. It said nothing about Jasmine contacting Stephanie. On the fifth night, Jasmine called from a prepaid phone and warned her friend not to believe Marlon. She said he collected secrets the way other men collected watches, studying what people feared, then preserving the information until it became useful. Jasmine claimed she never knew Marlon spoke with Jessica, but while she talked, Stephanie noticed an old graduation photograph on the shelf behind her. Jasmine wore the same onyx necklace Marlon had hidden inside his watch case. The necklace had not belonged only to Jessica. It had been Jasmine's before she gave it away after a teenage fight. Stephanie asked how it reached Marlon. Jasmine's expression changed. The call disconnected. Seconds later, a shadow crossed the hallway window behind her. Someone was inside the Fisher home. Jasmine did not scream. She slowly turned toward the dark room, as though she already knew who had come to see her. On the ninth night, Marlon entered Stephanie's locked office. He found hotel photographs, bank records, witness statements, and a confidential autopsy report. Someone had marked one section in red. Jessica had not taken enough medication to cause death. A second substance had been found in her bloodstream, a powerful paralytic that left her conscious but unable to move. Marlon photographed the report and searched the hotel registry. His name appeared nowhere. Jasmine's name did not appear either. Before he could continue, the office lights came on. Stephanie stood in the doorway with a glass of wine and asked why an innocent man needed a lockpick. Marlon placed the necklace on the desk and told her to ask Jasmine where she was between 11:40 and midnight on the night Jessica died. The registry did not contain Jasmine's name because she had entered the hotel under Stephanie Clark's identity. Stephanie's investigation had finally found its first living suspect, and it was the woman she had paid to help her. Jaden Smith spent 11 months rebuilding the Ashmont Hotel's corrupted surveillance archive. He met Stephanie beneath an office tower where fluorescent light and dripping rainwater made every parked car look occupied. The recovered sequence showed a hooded woman entering through a service door at 11:43 p.m. She avoided the desk, used an employee elevator, and stepped onto the 14th floor. For less than a second, her face appeared in the polished elevator doors. It was Jasmine. Stephanie watched the frame 3 times before she accepted that her best friend had lied for 8 years. Jaden warned that the image proved presence, not murder. Then he revealed that the hotel's original emergency call had been placed from a room phone 14 minutes after Jasmine arrived. Whoever made that call remained inside room 1414 long enough to watch the police response begin. Jasmine had not merely followed Marlon to the hotel. She had entered the final hour of Jessica Clark's known life. Jaden had uncovered something else. 3 weeks before her presumed death, Jessica visited a private medical clinic. She was pregnant. The appointment disappeared from the clinic system the day after police found her room. Someone accessed the portal from Jasmine and Marlon's home internet connection and erased the record. Stephanie assumed the unborn child belonged to Marlon. Jaden refused to confirm it. He had only fragments of the laboratory file and a damaged genetic report. What he could prove was that someone inside the Fisher marriage knew about the pregnancy before Stephanie did. The deleted record changed every motive. Jasmine had not simply discovered an affair. Marlon had not simply accepted hush money. Jessica had been carrying a child connected to a family that valued reputation more than truth. Jaden promised to restore the final page of the genetic report. Stephanie told him to work alone and tell no one. Across the garage, the distant vehicle light returned. This time, the engine started. Stephanie confronted Marlon inside the mansion's screening room and played the footage of Jasmine. He watched without surprise. Then he asked for the controls and advanced the recording 27 minutes. At 12:10 a.m., another woman entered through the same service corridor. She wore a cream coat, oversized sunglasses, and a scarf around her hair. Inside the elevator, she removed the glasses. The camera captured Stephanie Clark. The grieving sister who spent 8 years accusing everyone else had been the final known visitor to room 1414. Marlon revealed why. Jessica had discovered Clark and Black was moving client money through shell companies controlled by their father. She planned to expose the fraud and destroy Stephanie's company. Stephanie went to the hotel to stop her. The 60-day contract was not simply an investigation. It was a campaign to locate the last copy of the footage before anyone could prove Stephanie lied. At the exact midpoint of the bargain, the woman funding the truth became the most dangerous suspect. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and come back for part 2 of Borrowed Husband, because the next secret will change who you trust and who survives. 60 days under one roof would force the truth into the open. Instead, every lie pulled Jasmine and Marlon deeper into a trap built around Jessica's disappearance. Now the contract is ending, the marriage is breaking, and Jasmine is holding evidence no one expected to exist. One sealed laboratory report could expose why Stephanie chose Marlon, what happened inside room 1414, and who has been manipulating them from the beginning. Tonight, the final page changes everything. Stephanie admitted entering the hotel. She denied killing Jessica. According to her, Jessica had stolen money before deciding to become a whistleblower. The sisters argued. Stephanie slapped her. Jessica threatened to destroy everything they built. But when Stephanie left room 1414, Jessica was alive. Stephanie concealed the visit because the truth would have destroyed her company and made her the obvious suspect. Marlon finally admitted he had been in love with Jessica. The affair lasted 4 months. Jasmine discovered it on the same day Jessica learned she was pregnant. Stephanie demanded to know whether the child belonged to him. Marlon said he never saw the final results because Jasmine took them. Stephanie's hand tightened around her wine glass until the crystal cracked and cut her palm. Before she could ask another question, Jaden called. His voice was low and frightened. He had restored the genetic file. He knew who the father was. Then the line filled with breaking glass and went dead. On the final night of the contract, Stephanie and Marlon found Jaden inside the wine room. The rear service door stood open to the storm. Broken bottles covered the floor. Jaden had been struck from behind and stabbed once through the chest. The attack was fast, controlled, and personal. The flash drive containing the restored genetic file was gone. In Jaden's hand was a torn section of the 60-day contract bearing Jasmine's signature. Stephanie accused Marlon. Marlon reminded her that he had been inside the screening room when Jaden called. Neither could explain how the contract reached the investigator. Then the mansion announced that the front gate had opened. A familiar black sedan appeared on the security feed. Jasmine stepped into the rain wearing a silver dress. She was not supposed to know where Marlon lived during the arrangement. She was not supposed to possess Stephanie's office key. And when Stephanie opened the front door, Jasmine did not ask where Marlon was. She asked whether Jaden was dead. Jasmine admitted she knew about Stephanie's investigation. She had known for months. Together, the two women designed the arrangement. Jasmine would pressure Marlon to accept. Stephanie would isolate him, record him, and force him to confess. In exchange, Jasmine would receive enough money to leave the marriage permanently. But Jasmine concealed one fact from her oldest friend. She had been at the Ashmont Hotel the night Jessica vanished. Jasmine followed Marlon after learning about the affair and confronted Jessica inside room 1414. The argument became physical. Jasmine pushed Jessica against a table, but insisted she was conscious when Jasmine left. For 8 years, Jasmine believed Marlon returned and killed her. Marlon called the story a lie. Jasmine reached into her purse. Marlon tensed, expecting the pistol. Instead, she removed a sealed laboratory report. Jaden had given it to her before someone attacked him. The report identified the unborn child's genetic match. The name printed on the first page was not Marlon Fisher. It was Stephanie Quark. The result looked impossible. Stephanie was Jessica's sister. She could not have fathered Jessica's child. Marlon read the smaller language beneath the name. The laboratory had not compared the fetus to a potential father. It had compared the fetal DNA to Stephanie and found a 50% first-degree relationship. The baby was not Stephanie's child. The baby was Stephanie's biological sibling. The man who impregnated Jessica was also Stephanie's father. Preston Clark had served as chairman of Clark and Black. He controlled the shell accounts, the family reputation, and the people who benefited from both. He died 6 months after Jessica's presumed death. Stephanie remembered that Marlon received $75,000 3 days after the funeral. Marlon finally admitted Preston paid him, but not to commit murder. The money purchased his silence. Stephanie demanded to know what he had been paid to hide. Marlon said Jessica had called his phone after the time police claimed she was already dead. Marlon had preserved the voicemail for 8 years. Jessica's voice was weak but unmistakable. She said someone drugged her. She could not feel her legs. Stephanie had left, but another person entered the room. Before the recording ended, Jessica whispered 3 words. Jasmine knows her. Jasmine denied knowing who came after Stephanie. Stephanie accused her of arranging the entire night. Marlon accused Stephanie of using the contract to destroy them before the voicemail could surface. Then, the mansion lights went out. The security screens died. The doors locked automatically. Somewhere above them, glass shattered. Jasmine reached into her purse and removed a compact pistol. Marlon demanded to know why she brought a weapon. Jasmine said someone had followed her since the contract began. Footsteps crossed the second floor. Stephanie's voice came from the hallway behind Marlon, calling his name. But Stephanie was standing directly in front of him. Someone inside the mansion was playing a recording of her voice. Emergency lights activated in a dim red glow. A woman moved behind the frosted doors leading to Stephanie's office. Jasmine fired. Marlon forced her arm aside, and the bullet shattered a wall mirror. The silhouette disappeared. Inside the study, every file concerning Jessica was gone. On the desk sat Jaden's stolen flash drive and a second copy of the contract. This version contained a clause none of them remembered signing. If Stephanie died before the 60 days ended, the entire $500,000 would transfer to Jasmine. The clause made Jasmine the only person with an obvious financial motive to murder her friend. Marlon examined the signature and said it had been traced. Someone had designed the bargain to place all three of them inside one controlled environment, then weaponized each secret against the others. A hidden phone began ringing inside the office wall. Stephanie removed a ventilation panel and found a live video feed from the wine room. Jaden's body was gone. A trail of blood led from the wine room through the rear service door and into an unfinished corridor beneath the mansion. Stephanie followed before Marlon could stop her. Jasmine stayed behind long enough to recover the pistol. A scream came from below. Marlon ran toward it. Jasmine followed. The corridor ended inside a concrete storage chamber with no windows and one steel exit. When Marlon entered, someone struck him from behind. Jasmine heard the impact. Then the emergency lights failed again. Two people struggled in the darkness. The pistol changed hands. A gun fired. When the red lights returned, Jasmine was kneeling beside Stephanie. A wound darkened the fabric beneath Stephanie's left collarbone. Marlon had vanished. The pistol lay beside Jasmine. Her dress was torn. Blood covered both hands. Before she could call for help, the mansion doors unlocked and police flooded the property. Someone had reported the murder before the shot was fired. The responding officers did not treat Jasmine like a witness. The anonymous caller had reported that Jasmine intended to kill Stephanie for the contract money. Police found the altered agreement in the study, the pistol beside Jasmine, and Stephanie, unresponsive, on the storage room floor. Marlon's phone, wallet, and suitcase remained inside the mansion. His platinum wedding ring was discovered beside the underground service exit. Detective Madison Freeman ordered the property sealed and asked Jasmine where her husband had gone. Jasmine said Marlon would never leave without protecting himself. If he had disappeared, someone had taken him. Upstairs, officers located Jaden's missing flash drive beneath the passenger seat of Jasmine's sedan. Then another team opened her trunk. Jaden Smith's body was inside. The evidence told a complete story before Jasmine had spoken a full sentence. She had helped write the contract. She had a financial motive. Her weapon was at the scene. The murdered investigator was inside her car. Only Jasmine knew the story had been completed too perfectly. As officers led Jasmine through the rain, reporters shouted questions about the sex contract and the dead marketing executive. Madison placed Jasmine inside the police SUV and sealed her burner phone in a clear evidence bag on the seat across from her. The screen lit. A banking notification confirmed that the final $250,000 had just entered Jasmine's account. The transfer completed the motive with almost insulting precision. Jasmine stared at the amount and understood that whoever built the contract had never needed her to confess. They only needed every institution around her to believe the paperwork. A second notification appeared, a video. A woman sat with her back to the camera inside a dark hotel room. When she turned, Jasmine stopped breathing. Short hair, pale scar. Jessica Clark was alive. Jessica said Jasmine had completed the contract. The frame widened. Marlon was bound to a chair in the connecting room, and behind him stood a man wearing the onyx signet ring supposedly buried with Preston Clark. Stephanie had never been the target, Jessica explained. Marlon was. If he remembered what happened in room 1414, someone else would die first. The screen went black. One message replaced it. Your daughter is with us. Continue into the next movie, room 1414, or watch the Secrets, Power, and Betrayal playlist now, because the contract was only the beginning. If stories about secrets, power, and betrayal are your kind of drama, subscribe, because the next revelation changes everything.